each and every one of you. Welcome to Mornings with Marvel, where authenticity lives and thrives to create a space of growth, healing, and joy. I am your host, Andrea Lawful Sanders, and each day we will cover the topics that are informative and engaging while learning from each other. Good morning to each and every one of you. I'm doing a beta test this morning. If you can hear me on Instagram or Facebook, please let me know. I'm testing out some microphones so that my sound quality is better as I am doing these episodes. Coming into YouTube is great because I have a good sound system that goes there. But if you are watching me on either Instagram or Facebook, please make me aware if you can hear me. Otherwise, I'll pull those microphones out. So that's up to you. Let me see. Please make me aware if you can hear me as I am testing out a sound system. All right, let's do that. I'll do that over here. Please make me aware if you can hear me because I am testing out a new sound system. What language is that? That's not English. Who, baby? All right. Hold on. Wait. Hold on. There we go. I'm telling you, Black Jesus, I'm always trying to do these things on my own over here. I need a whole producer in here with me. Let's see. We're getting ready to start because there's so much going on. Full stop. Please make me aware if you can hear me because I'm testing out a new sound system on social media. All right. Let's see if they can hear me over here. And if they can hear me on Instagram. I know you can hear me on YouTube. Good morning to each and every one of you. Are you all excited? Woohoo! I am stoked. Good morning, Nakia. Oh, good morning, Marguerite. Honey, Mother's having a hair day. And since I have a hat face and a ton of hats, you're going to be getting these hats until my hair is done. I'm always transparent enough with all of you to let me to see what we can do. All right. So, Monica, good morning. You're going to hear me fine on YouTube. I'm talking about Instagram and on Facebook because I'm testing out a new sound system on both of my iPads. So I want to make sure that people can hear me properly. Let's see. Listen, Tammy, just a little something to break the monotony, Good morning, Shaquilla. Good morning. I have decided that I have a ton of clothes that I've designed. One of these pieces, Renee Bolden, that I'm just going to wear. On Mondays and Wednesdays, I will have my gym clothes on. But for the rest of the week, yeah, it is what it is. East Coast, can you hear me? Can you hear me over here, East Coast? Let Marva know, please. Can you guys hear me? Can you hear me? No sound on Instagram. Okay. All right. So I'm going to pull this off. Pull that out. Oops. All right. Can you hear me now? That's what I was trying to figure out. All right. We're cool. I have to figure it out. Can you hear me now? Thank you, East Coast. Can you hear me now? Because I want to make sure everybody can hear me properly. I think they can now. Because I pulled out the stuff. Let's do this. Can you hear me on Facebook? I'm sorry, y'all. I'm just trying to make sure that everybody can hear me because we have a hot show today. And I don't want anybody to miss anything. Okay? Then Mother will figure out her sound in a little while. Okay. David Alexander Jenkins is already here at 6:34. Sir.
Hello. Shalom. Yes.
Still can't hear me on Instagram. That's weird. They can't hear me on Instagram. Hold on one second. I got it because they've got to be able to hear me. Discard. Let me try this again. Because I want people. This is going to be a hot show, David. And I need folks to be able to hear Marva. Oh, thank you, Debbie Womack. Can you hear me, darling? Just want to make sure. Hold on, David. I'm setting up new sound systems so that folks can. I'm about to plug something into my computer. Let me know if you can hear me, okay? All right, let me do that. And I should have done that. I should have done a beta test. Uh, all right, David, hold on.
No. Let
I
me see
just
what
want to.
your my
All right,
call
can you
tag.
guys
Yeah.
hear me again? Can you hear me again on Facebook, or did I go silent for you? David, darling.
Good morning.
Good morning, my love.
Let me tell you. Let me tell you.
Welcome to
Woo.
Mornings with Mobile, where authenticity lives and thrives to create a space of growth, healing, and joy. I am your host, Andrea Lawful Sanders, and each day we will cover the topics that are informative and engaging while learning from each other. You, Miss David, started. Oh, yeah, because Monday we were on holiday. So, David, you were not on. My
Yeah.
darling, today we're going to, good morning, Laverne. We are going to have a follow up conversation from last week. This is Love is Thursday. Um, and I am trying, thank you, darling. Mova's gotten, somebody said that hat.
Yes.
and we're going to, you started to echo on Facebook. Okay, thank you, Dennis. Don't move, don't move. I'm going to do something different. All right, try it again. Do I sound better? I should sound better. We'll work it out. Okay, my darling. Shaquilla, can you hear me on Instagram? Because when wherever people join me, I am going to I have a new sound system. I'm having sound system issues with my
Oh my good.
iPads.
Can I tell you? So I
Yeah.
bought, y'all complained. So I bought this big fancy mic. It's got this long thing. It does not pair to the phone.
I know.
And I,
I'm going through something similar. I have to figure out my sound system before I come back on. And it's just with the iPads because in YouTube, we're good. We're clear, right? So, okay. All right, David. All right. So last week we had a meeting of the minds with several people, David Alexander being one of them, Janine Nichols, Oneida Stevenson, and Judith Dumanet. And Cherie joined us from Senegal, I believe, in Africa. And the conversation was so riveting. We got so much amazing feedback. People were like, wait one diggity dang minute. This is going on in these Wakondan streets. I cannot believe it. And so
told you all our business.
Whew. I'm waiting for the other women to join us. But David, I'd like you
Yeah.
to give us a synopsis of what your thought was from our conversation last week.
We told you all our business. And I don't know how you did it. So, I
It's my
said, yeah,
superpower.
it's all
It's my
business.
superpower.
I think there is something which is um, cathartic. And by that I mean as a whole, cathartically, as a whole,
Hmm.
cathartic.
Hmm.
That we would be able to, with the energy of the room and the listeners, really lean into issues of reality, not the band-aid covers, but the
Hmm.
actual wounds that cause us to create scenarios and situations that don't prevail in relationships. So as we reflect about who are we and what do
Hmm.
we bring into a room, what energy do we come to a space with, and we see how people react to us,
Hmm.
we were able to reflect on, well, why do I bring that lion on my shoulder? Why do I
Right.
bring that lamb with me?
Hmm.
And how do I walk into a situation, a relationship, a friendship, and recognize both the lion and the lamb that I'm bringing to the table so that
Hmm.
I don't begin to feel like it's someone else, um,
Right.
if it's me. Right. I can separate what is me from what is they, and how do we come to a consensus about
And
that.
I believe, David, honestly, that we get into a space when relationships are really bad, when we've had relationships that were tragic and created a horrible space for us, that when we have to go into another relationship, we're like, mm-mm, is you married? Mm-mm, what are you hiding from me? Mm-mm. And we don't realize that we haven't healed. And in that not healing, we find ourselves in this precarious position, and people going, oh my God, they're so angry. Oh my God, they're too persnickety. But it's also very difficult to share your whole life story with every stranger that you meet. So
Well,
when you first get into, yeah.
that's why we have to say to ourselves, why do I attract the married man? Like, let's go back a step. So instead of I'm in the relationship with the married man, why do I attract the married man? What is it about me? What is it about my wounds? What is it about my past? What is it about what I haven't healed that I am constantly going back to reattract that thing? And I'm going to go reach into the bag of my what the universe is saying you have to work on and pull out. Oh, I was in an abusive situation. I didn't learn how to deal with that, so now I'm going to be in another one. So I'm
Hmm.
learning because all these things are licensed, right? Like the universe is not a joke, right? And as we walk through life, it is teaching us lessons. Did we learn the lesson? Do we have it right? The universe is giving you what you need right now. So there's something about this toxic type of thing that you need to learn how to move through, get past, be beyond in your personal self so
Yeah.
that you stop entering into these toxic situations. If
Yes.
you don't learn the red flags, you don't learn the warnings, you never get better at removing yourself from certain situations, you will continue to have them
Absolutely.
because it's you
Absolutely.
who attracted them. Yeah.
Absolutely. Good morning to all of you. Winetta Smith, I see you. Dennis, Debbie Womack, Monica. Thank you, Monica. You can thank Mr. Sanders for the upgrades. Jania, I see all of you. I've just been
Yes,
trying to work
Papa.
on my sound, etc. But Anita just joined us. Ooh, Judith is here. I'm about to let Judith in. Oh, this is about to be delicious in these McConan Straits. Good morning,
Good
Judith.
morning.
Good morning. Hey, good morning.
So,
How's
Anita,
everybody
what was the
doing
feedback
today?
you heard from last week?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
What was the feedback you heard from last week's conversation?
From other people?
Yes.
Or just no, so actually people just said speak your truth. That's all that's what's up to me. Just speak my truth. So I speak my
Yeah.
truth.
Yes, that was good. And Judith, what was the feedback you heard from last week?
Um, a lot of people were shocked in terms of hearing us come off mute and not really realizing how people go through various relationships
In their
and
lives.
how it
Absolutely.
impacts them and their family. But
Yes.
they really appreciated hearing our story and appreciate um, them giving themselves a chance to look at relationships and marriage from a different lens
Yes.
because we endured so much
Mm-hmm.
and really to just share and just be open. Sometimes you just have to not be afraid to come off
Mm-hmm.
mute and just have the courage because your story can help someone else.
Yes. Agreed. Agreed. Um, so I kept running into people who said we need to do way more of these. People just kept going. David, let me tell you, you left everybody's tongue on the ground. I promise you.
I appreciate David. David had me pondering something. My life coach
Mm.
should bring you on. Because it really did. It reminded me. I've gone to a life coach. I've gone to therapy, but it reminded me of those sessions and the work that's continuum once
Yeah.
you start this.
Yeah.
But David, you definitely did, and even just this morning, coming in on the tail end of what you were saying, I said, "Oh wow, this is what I was thinking about this week." So
Right, because what we enter into in the ensuing relationships is what we bring with us, right? So if we keep getting the same person over and over again, it's not them, it's us. We have to do our work. Once you found yourself doing the work, what ends up happening is that you don't get that same person again. And you're
yes,
also tested by the universe because we have this certain thing. Oh, he's got to be, or she's got to be this height and this amount of money and a washboard stomach. And we have all these surface things that don't matter. And we don't check the heart. We do not check the heart.
And
Um,
there's something you said there because what are we saying no to? That's what's left is what we say yes to, right? Because we always talk about what's left, right? The basket of what's left. There's nothing left in the room. It's so that's so. But wait a minute, what did we say no to that showed up in our lives? Who was the kind stranger who opened the door who just smiled and we turned away? Right? Who was the person that our mama said you need to meet so and so? We know, oh,
yeah,
but what is?
yes,
Yeah. Who are
yes,
we saying no to? What rooms are we? What I get last night? Something in me said, "Get up and go downstairs to the bar." And I said, "Oh no, I'm not getting up. I'm not leaving this bed. I'm not whatever else." And I said, "Come on now, get up there." I went. I made me some noodles and sat back down to bed. And my body said, get up, that's nasty, don't eat it. And go downstairs to the bar and get some food. And I thought, I'm not doing this. I got in the bathtub, and I got out of the bathtub. And Chloe insists on going outside. So I go outside, I'm already wet. I go to, that's it, I need a drink, I go to the bar. And there are three people who I met yesterday who were sitting at the bar who had been there for 2 hours.
Wow.
What did I miss in that first 120 minutes before I got there that I was supposed to hear? Who left? Who was the universe trying to? So what do we say no to in life?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. It's I'm waiting for Janine to pop in so we can begin the conversation. But last week when we ended our dialogue, I asked all of you to go and make a list of who are you? What do you bring to the table? Because we're often looking for somebody to bring things to the table. But what are you offering? Right? What is it that stops you from attracting the kind of person that you seek in your heart, but you never voiced? Did that make sense?
Yes.
Right? Because we're so concerned about what people may think. My husband is such a great example. People go. So Lorraine Ballard Morrow, who was at iHeartRadio, great friend of mine, she didn't meet my husband until we were in the airport heading out to get married. And she just listen. I was because I knew people were going to. My husband is shorter than me. He's not a diva by any sense, not any stretch of the imagination. My God, on today, he don't give a dang what nobody thinks about what he's wearing except me. And I just look at him and I go, all right, we'll figure it out. He's not the typical person that someone would have ascribed to me, looking at me. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah,
But
the opposite.
when we began talking and we became friends, we were great friends, and I kept going, he's really nice, but he's not, he's not my type, so whatever, because and everybody's gonna think he's not my type. That's where I was in the beginning. And then as I kept talking to him, I was like, this dude is really, really nice. I really like him. I really like spending time around him. I'm smiling. And then when he asked me out 5 years later, Black Jesus. So it's never in our timing. And it was so random when he asked me out and we began dating. There was a huge part of me that wanted to share him with nobody. And so for the 5 years, 2 months before we got married, after 5 years of dating is when all of you saw him for the first time. It broke the internet. They were like, could it be? Is that right? And so I was able to have a relationship in a way that did not have public voice and public opinion. That's what I did. Other people worked it in other ways, right? But that was it for me. Today, Mr. Sanders said something to me this morning. He said, our relationship is loving but not clingy. We can go in separate parts and we're okay. But that works for us. We cannot sit around and wait for people to give us permission or to tell us how they like or don't like. You have to follow your heart, whether it looks like something that people may think you should be a part of or not. I now have one of the best, thank God I followed my heart. I have a marriage that is incredible. My Zen space, as an example, my Zen space flooded. Um, and I worked out with the contractors. He began looking at my equipment and said, all right, you need a new computer. I was like, my computer is like 15 months old. He said, don't worry about it. He went down and took my other one and did all the things and look at the quality that I have now, right? He's always looking to make sure that I am okay, no matter what's going on, while depriving himself, much to my consternation. So you have to look at the heart of the person. How do you meld with your heart, not with the pocketbook? Right? Because when you love each other, the money will come because you will work together to do what you're supposed to do. The other thing is to not ignore the signs. I kept saying to God, if he ain't for me, show me. God was looking at me like, well, it's been 2 years. I ain't showed you nothing yet. So what you waiting for? I kept going, God, if he's not for me, show me. God was like, if you don't shut your mouth, figure out what you need to do. And so again, it's literally following your heart. We have gut instincts for a reason. It is naturally given to us. We ignore it to our peril a lot of times, especially in our relationships. Janine, darling, good morning. I see you changed the last name.
No, I didn't.
No?
No.
Okay. David
And
is not
speaking of
frozen.
which,
David, are you frozen?
I don't
I
know. Can you
still
see me?
have
I
the
can't see
same
me.
last name as my
Close it.
My ex-spouse.
Oh, okay.
I'm
Okay.
gonna I'm gonna leave and come back because I think it's
All right, yeah,
frozen.
because you're frozen. You're absolutely frozen. He is coming back. Marguerite says Mr. Sanders is always looking out for you professionally and personally. It's absolutely true. And he's a mild mannered man until somebody does something. And then that he's like a gremlin. They put water on him, he gets wet, and he's like, help, mess with my wife. I was like, dude, that can we?
Love it. I love it.
It is so funny. So, anyway, I gave you all a homework from last week. Who wants to start?
I can
What was the
start.
homework? What was the homework?
I'm different though.
You said for us to share, put together a list of our non-negotiables and negotiables.
Uh huh.
What are we looking for?
You're low, Judith. You're low. Turn up your.
Okay, yeah. Sorry. Okay, can you hear me better now? Is this
No, take those
louder?
earphones out of your ears and let me see if I can.
Can you hear me?
Are you good?
I can hear you.
Oh, that's much better because I know
Oh,
they can hear me
oh.
on um
We need new
YouTube.
mics.
Yes, but outside of that, it's a little bit more challenging, which is why I'm trying to work out this other people. All right, so your negotiables and non-negotiables you're looking for in a relationship as you're dating. So what are yours?
Mine. So I'll start with my non-negotiables. My non-negotiables are respect, um, definitely effective communication,
Hmm.
honesty, trust, forgiveness, compassion. Um, what are your finances? How do you handle them?
These are all the
Um,
non-negotiables.
huh?
Are
These are the
these your negotiables
non-negotiables.
or your non-negotiables?
Those are my
So
non-negotiables. Like,
you have to have effective communication,
yes, like,
respect.
mhm. If you have
How do you
lack of
handle your?
those, if you have lack of those, the list that I'm telling you, that's a problem for me.
Okay, okay,
So,
okay.
lack of forgiveness, lack of compassion. Um, what is your acts of service? Because some people, I mean, that's important to me because your acts of service says a lot about you, who you are. I don't care how much money you have. If you can't treat a poor person on the street with dignity and respect, or a homeless person with dignity and respect, then you're not going to respect me. So
Hmm.
that's important to me because I'm big on that.
Hmm.
How do you handle your finances? I mean, you can have a lot of money and you're poor with how you handle money.
Hmm.
um an abuse of any kind, like mental abuse, physical abuse, drug abuse, all of those are issues, non-negotiables. And then your lack of self-esteem and your self-worth. I mean, you will suck the life out of me if
Yeah,
you can't handle, anything. And that shows up in you being confident or lack thereof.
yeah. They're saying that you're still very low, Judith. Not
Mhm.
very sure what's going on there. Because what are your negotiables? What are the things you're willing to negotiate?
So I'm willing to negotiate like shared activities. We don't necessarily. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Can
go
y'all hear
ahead.
me? Okay. So shared activities. We don't necessarily. I love football, but if you don't love football, that's okay.
Hmm.
Let's look into whatever sport you like, or if you don't like a sport, that's totally okay. Living arrangements. I love where I live. You can live where you live, and we can still be friends and have fun. And I'll go. You can come over my house. I can come over your house, or we could go somewhere.
Yes.
That's negotiable. I don't necessarily have to live in the same state as you. That's negotiable
Oh,
because I want to expand my
okay.
mind. You can live in DC, you can live in Maryland. You know what I mean? Like, if it's just a 2-hour travel, why not? I
Okay.
want to be open with that. Um, what are some of your long-term goals versus your short-term goals? They don't
Hmm.
necessarily they don't have to be aligned necessarily, but
Hmm.
let's help each other reach those goals. So that's negotiable for me. And what you look like. Give me corny. You ain't got to be fine as long as you treat me with dignity and respect.
Mm-hmm.
That's, listen, that's an orgasm for me. So that's where I am.
Right.
You
That's where
better
I am.
come on and tell the truth, Jenna.
Hey, listen. We really do have some really fine men. Like, people always say, oh, there are no men out here. But if you open your mindset and you're willing to date someone that you normally wouldn't date, then to me, I feel like that's a negotiable.
Mm-hmm.
I've watched this, watch 4 seasons on Netflix. That's a really good um show or series to watch, because it talks about relationships, and it talks about the 4 seasons that you go through in a relationship, and
Mm-hmm.
a lot of it stemmed off of communication. That was the biggest piece that I got
Mm-hmm.
out of it. So
Yeah. Thank you, my darling. That's funny. You gave us a good comprehensive list. What about you, Janine?
Sure. Now, can you all hear me?
Yes.
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 Not low?
Now you're good.
Okay, okay. I just want to make sure. So, I'll share my negotiables first. I like to share like the good pieces first. I like to bring good energy to myself
Mm-hmm.
always. Um, the first thing that I had was, and I'll share with you. I've never dated outside of my race. I've
Okay.
always loved chocolate
Careful.
man. You know, and I'm fair skinned myself, but I love chocolate men. So my negotiable, I was like, you know what? Race, ethnicity. Why does that always have to matter, Janine? I had to really ask myself, why does that have to matter? Maybe I could find the person for me, and it may be a different race or ethnicity.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, education. I have, you know, a master's degree, and one day I hope to get my PhD. And a lot of the times when I am dating and I share about my education, I notice that some men might feel intimidated. And I don't want anyone to feel intimidated by my education. It doesn't matter your education. There's people out here who don't have a master's degree and are making way more money than me.
Right.
Doesn't matter the education, just as long as you have that emotional intelligence, your common sense, I street smarts. You know, I can walk through the city with you and feel safe because you might be seeing things that I don't see.
Mm-hmm.
Income is another thing. You
Mm-hmm.
know, that's a negotiable for me. Now, I'm not saying you're gonna walk into my life and you're gonna be jobless. But income, that's a negotiable.
Okay.
Um, and then also uh, love languages, because my love language is physical touch. I am touchy feely. Um, I cling, but then I have my healthy boundaries. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and someone might not have that love language
Mm-hmm.
of physical touch, but we
Mm-hmm.
have to have some sort of compromise when it comes to that. And also,
Okay.
my love language is quality time. That might not
Mm-hmm.
be somebody else's love language, but we need to
Mm-hmm.
be able to come to some sort of compromise.
Mm-hmm.
And I need to compromise with the other person as well when it comes to their love language.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a short list of negotiables, but I think that was, the meatiness of it for me.
Mm-hmm.
Now, non-negotiables must be Christian and active in their faith. I have my own personal journey with Christ, and it's come a long way. And the pandemic, I think, helped to reignite my own personal journey. We have our
Mm-hmm.
childhood connections with Christ, but I'm way more spiritually grounded now, active in my church, have a divorce care ministry in the church. So it's important that this person is active in their church, active in their church community. Maybe they have a ministry or whatever the case may be. I also put married once before, because I think ideally, in order for me to have the connection with someone, I think being married before can help to, get through those bumps and hurdles that you might get through,
Mm-hmm.
that a married person might not, a non-married person might not experience when connecting with a previously married person. Been a part of raising their children and be an active co-parent. That is so important to me. If you're coming to me and you're sharing with me that you are not seeing your children
Oh,
on a
baby, that's a
basis,
red flag.
that is a huge red flag, and I
Yeah.
am walking right out.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have pictures in your phone of your children that were from 2 days ago, you're not talking about your children, that's a huge red flag for me. No history of addiction. No, I don't want any history of addiction. That's a non-negotiable. Um, when it comes to
So I have a question.
yep,
When you say no history of addiction, there's so many people out here that had been in some level of addiction and recovered and are like 20 years clean, 30 years clean. No, still no?
no,
Okay. Okay.
And is
All
that
right, go
only
ahead.
alcohol and narcotics? I'm sorry, because when I think of addictions, I think of other addictions. So,
Right.
are you just
So
talking
is
about,
it
yeah,
sexual
the
proclivities? It's
sexual,
yes.
retail? I mean, because these are all addictions. They're real.
Hmm.
There's degrees
gambling,
of
all of it.
All of it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, you just brought down the dating pool to 10 people.
Girl, can I tell you?
I
Can
know
I
we have
tell
anybody
you?
to choose from, right?
And not just
Listen,
you,
Anybody
Janine.
to choose
listen.
from.
Not just you, Janine. I mean,
I'm
I'm
trying to
listening.
knock
I'm
you out.
thinking,
What you like is what you like. But
which,
uh,
anyway,
which is
I'll let
let me
you
tell you,
go
let
ahead.
me tell you why this is so interesting, Janine. The There are levels of addiction in just about people have addicted to certain kinds of foods, addicted to shopping, addicted to traveling. There are levels of addiction. So when you say no addiction whatsoever, exactly what addiction are you talking about? Because you got to be clear about that part of it.
I gotcha.
See what
I'm
I mean?
following
Because
you.
the man gonna be like, "Oh Jesus, I love me some."
I love
I,
you cologne, and I got
uh,
30 million colognes on my shelf. That's okay. As long as you are managing your finances and it's not getting in the way and you're not prioritizing,
Okay.
material things
Hmm.
for your for basic stability,
Hmm.
that's okay.
Okay.
But if you're going out there in the casinos and you're gambling away your money and you're about to lose your house and your car,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's a problem.
that's a
Right.
problem.
Mhm.
But what about an addiction to shopping? Like on our end as women, some women are addicted to shopping. Some women are addicted to getting traveling all the time. I have to have a certain lifestyle. That's a huge. When I tell you, it's a huge turnoff for men. Huge for some men. Like all you want to do is shop and travel, and you want me to put you in this lifestyle that you're accustomed to. But you're killing us. You see
As
what I'm
long as
saying?
it doesn't impact the finances. If it's
Okay.
not impacting the finances and we're
Okay.
not having to move into another house because everything that's been purchased, whether it's man or woman,
can
can't
I
fit in
offer?
there.
Hold on 1 second, David. Hold on. Because here's the other question that I have for you, Janine, is when you are in a relationship or a marriage, things happen. What happens if one or both of you lose your jobs and you have to move to a smaller place? Is that a non-negotiable?
No,
Okay,
that's
all
not a
right.
non. Yeah,
Because I know men are listening, so I just want to make sure we have some
Can I?
clarity.
I
Because
want to
yeah.
your man
offer.
might be out here somewhere looking at you, going,
Yeah, I want to offer some friendly amendments.
Wait, let me jump in
I want to
there.
David,
offer some friendly
I
amendments.
love how
I
David words things.
I
We're
want to
offering some
strike.
friendly amendments.
Yeah, because I'm hearing a lot of amendments which are written in the what I'm looking for. So I want to strike the words and I want to replace them with I'm looking for security. Right? It's not that I'm looking for you to walk in here with perfection. I'm looking to make sure that when you come here, you secure me. And so that when I'm working to secure you, you're securing me. And I hear lists from both of you ladies right now that are needles in haystacks because they're lists that deal with my previous wounds and fears. Right? They are. I was hurt here, here, here. I discovered this lie, that, whatever, and I'm not doing that again. I'm not going back. Right? Okay. So I want to offer the friendly amendment that instead of us asking the universe to pick out the fruit from the tree, which does not have, that we ask the universe to pick out the fruit from the tree that nourishes. So
yes.
I don't know if your
Judith is
previous,
writing, honey.
I don't know if your previous experience in life caused me to starve, but today I'm looking for someone that nourishes me.
Yeah.
And if your addiction therapy through 30 years before caused you to have a catastrophe in life that you've learned from, maybe I have learned from something in my life that is the other. The two
Mhm.
of us can help each
Mhm.
other move forward. If we, however, come to life with the list that we have described so far, we have found exactly the man we said we do not want, because we are focused. Our energy is focused on no, 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 no. And whatever the no is, the universe we know doesn't hear the word no, it just
Yeah.
hears thing.
And
So
because that is the energy that you're bringing right now, the universe will send just that thing. Our energy attracts what is coming out of us right now.
what's in our
So
mind constantly?
I'm going to suggest to you, Janine and Judith, healing. You need some healing. Like you really need some healing
And I
because
want a man
it
who's going to
triggers
help me heal.
glory, right? So because what you walked out of was so tragic, it is what is coming from you in terms of what I don't want, right? Versus I need someone that on my vision board I wrote on my vision board I put on he was who I was looking for all along. Like your words, the things that you put forth has to be a place that sustains and heals you, so that when life hits you, because life will hit you, you are able to navigate through it. I think the both of you have been through so much ish that's what's showing up in your negotiable. That's why I asked you. It was purposeful. It is what is showing up in your negotiables and non-negotiables. So I'm going to suggest healing, right? Figure out and write out, just like David and I are talking about right now. What is it that would bring nourishment to my soul? That'll help me versus because everybody you see is going to be like, does he have addiction? Does he have this? Does he have that? Is he a liar? Does he not manage money well? Right? I put on my
And
vision board, he has his own damn bank account, drives his own car, and has his own job. That was it.
yeah,
That
because
was
right
it.
now each these lists say this might poison me, and in each explanation I'm hearing, but what if this might do? Right?
Yeah.
But what if this might do? Instead of I know this is true, there is this question around if this is true, and if this is true, I can't deal with that, and therefore I'm going to skip it altogether. So
Yeah.
I think the universe, if we look at the universe and we look at God as something like a parent
Mhm.
who's trying to pick something out for you, pick a friend for you, it's really
Yeah.
hard to pick a friend for you if your list says no friends.
I have a
Yeah.
few more on my list.
Go
Just
ahead.
so
Yes.
you know.
Go ahead, Janine. Give us your disclaimer.
I
This
have
show may run a little long, but it's my show. So you go ahead. Give us
I
yours.
have motivated in one's career,
Yes. Yes.
Mhm.
stable living environment, great relationship with family and friends,
Yes.
emotional intelligence, and the ability to carry on a conversation. Because
I love
I
that.
love to I
Yes.
love to have a conversation.
Yes.
It could be politics, it could be,
Hmm.
something that we watched on social media and just sort of dissecting it. I love to have a good conversation. Willingness to be transparent about each other's relationship trauma and how we can
Mm,
work
mm,
together and how that could
mm,
potentially impact a dating relationship of how we
Janine,
move.
mm.
Janine, you don't want that on your list. Take that
Oh
off.
no,
That's an
it's not that.
assignment. That's an
It's not.
No, no,
assignment.
no. I'm talking to Andrea now.
Yeah.
Right. And let me tell you what there's so many men that are frightened off by having conversations about relationships trauma. That's not going to happen unless you're my husband, who for the first week was like, I need to let you know who I am so that you get to decide whether you want to be with me. That was so orgasmic for my black behind because I had never experienced that in my life. Like, wait, what? We're going to
That's
discuss
what
what
I
now?
want. I want willingness to communicate through
Oh my goodness.
experiences. I want to know the tough parts.
But then you
Yes.
can't. But
That's
now here's the
transparency,
problem.
though. You
Yeah,
want
but
transparency.
you got to
Yeah.
take your list
You want
and look at your
transparency,
list.
but there's a difference than what you said. So honestly, listening to what you said sound like you wanted someone's assignment. You were going to be doing the work. They're going to be transparent, but you were going to be the one dissecting it and putting it in place. I mean, if you deliver it that way to a person, I'm sure that that's how they're going to serve it
Well,
to you.
my
So
delivery won't be that way.
Okay.
Also,
My
Right.
delivery
also,
Okay.
just to
and
That's what I
I want you
heard.
to
my
think
hold
about
list.
this,
on,
right?
hold on,
Look
because
at the request in the list because you have incongruence, and this is everybody. There's incongruence in my desires and I don't wants. Because if I don't want this, I suddenly can't have an honest conversation about where I've come from.
Yeah.
Right? If I come to the table as perfect Patty, then when perfect Patty remembers that perfect Patty wasn't perfect at some point, I can't share that with my perfect Patty partner. So I want us all to look at our list and say, where do our lists not even match each other? Where do our own desires, wants, and needs and things we won't have negate each other? Like, so can I have someone who's open and honest with me about their journey and their trials and what's coming up that might be a hardship if I'm always looking for somebody who's never going to have the letdown of I lost the job? Or who isn't going to come with the bad finance one time he discovers that there was an old eviction from 20 years ago he's got to deal with today, or the child they discovered he had, or like there's a
So here's the thing. You don't get to our ages without making a bunch of mistakes. You don't get to our ages without
like that
saying and do things that you regret, right? So what does he look like for you, Janine, when he shows up? You want to have the hard conversations, but what if that conversation includes some of those things that are non-negotiable for you? And you really like him, and he's showing up, and he loves your children, and he's doing all the things that you would want, but there's something in his life that doesn't jive with your non-negotiables. How does that work for you?
I'm not going to immediately X someone out.
Okay.
There's room for a non-negotiable to be transferred to a negotiable. Once I get to know that person and experience them, I have to, observe, experience before I can transfer it. There's fluidity there.
Yeah. I understood, because we all come with some stuff. I'm going to share something that I have never shared ever. For my entire life, I've been an entrepreneur. I worked 1 full year in a job. The woman who was the head of the organization says, I'm not sure if I really want to work with you because I think you could take my place. That's what she said to me. She did. And then shortly thereafter, the company went out of business, and I asked if I could take some parts of it and rework it, because it was working with parents in that moment. So I've always been an entrepreneur. In 2008, the stock market started to crash. Barack Obama had come in to be president. I started dating Mr. in 2010. I was fine. My contract started to dry up. Right here, I am an entrepreneur. I've got 2 small children. I had a savings, and I was eating through those savings and couldn't really figure out what to do. Remember, as an entrepreneur, your businesses are going to fail 5 to 7 times before you actually start to become successful. I did not share with Mr. We were dating. It was like 2011. We started dating in 2010. 2011, I got up one morning to go to the gym, and my car was gone. They had come and repossessed my car. And I remember going back in the house and saying to him, because he was with me at the time. He had spent the night with me at the time. And I said, my car is gone. And he said, what do you mean your car is gone? And I said, I think it was repossessed. I owed 2 months of car payments. And I was trying to rob Peter to pay Paul to make sure that I was still able to eat, pay the rent, whatever. That man got up out of the bed, said, take my car. I am going to go and get some money to get your car back to you. And that's exactly what he did. Within 4 hours, I had my car back. In my head, I was like, this man right here, and he never asked me for, I need you to pay me back. He didn't say any of those things. I just want to make sure you're okay. When we got married and life started to ebb and flow, and I was making way more money and doing all, I made sure I pulled in and did all the things that needed to be done without asking him to do anything in return. We have to be able to compromise. Just that one incident was enough for me to say, I am with someone who's going to make sure I'm okay no matter what. Does that make sense? And so we have to be able to have those kinds of hard conversations. I never knew that was going to happen to me. That was the one and only time I ever had a car repossessed. Got it back within a few hours. But had I not been in a relationship that said, I'm going to make sure you're all right. That same man, 2 weeks after we began dating, was like, here's my debit card. I was like, what the hell I need your debit card for? I had to shut my mouth. And I held onto that debit card for 2 years before I touched it. And when I touched it, I was like, can I, I want to get something for $20. I never abused it. And he said, I was watching you and realized that you are the woman that I wanted to marry. These things, you got to be able to have these kinds of conversations all the time. And it doesn't always look or feel pretty. You see what I'm saying? So if and even if he hadn't done that in that moment, the fact that he was like, here, take my car and we'll figure it out. He had to go to work. You understand what I'm saying? So it is how that person sees you, views you, treats you. We're now 10 years married, June 25th of this year. It's the same damn thing. What they show you, and you know, we get the representative in the beginning, but he never shifted. It was always, Andrea, I'm going to make sure you are okay first. And so there is nothing I wouldn't do for him. But we've got to be able to get into a space where we can have these hard damn conversations and say, this is where we are. It doesn't have to be a public thing, but, and I mean, I probably would never have shared this other than the fact that we're here, but life ebbs and flows. Shit happens, literally. And when the shit happens, excuse my language, what do? Do we say, oh my God, I can't believe you. I wasn't mismanaging my money, Janine. I was literally an entrepreneur who was going through a hard time trying to figure it out. And so the one thing I'm going to tell an entrepreneur is marry someone who has a steady job, because our lives ebb and flow. It's up, down, up, down, up, down. And I've been able to navigate and get to where I am today because I have a loving spouse that allowed me to work in my business in such a way that it could grow versus going, oh my God, you don't have any money this month. Oh my God. Because we don't get paid every month or every 2 weeks or all those other things. And we put so much money back into our business. He appreciated and gave me what I needed. So now he looking at me going, I need to just go sit down somewhere because you're going to make sure I'm okay. You understand what I'm saying? That's the part that we have to think through and think about. Because I remember in that moment when he got my car back, he looked at me and he said, all right, we're going to figure this out. We're going to figure this out. And so I was paying some of the bills. He was paying some of the bills. There were days when we only had $30 to cover for food for the week. And I'm sharing transparent because people look at us and go, oh my God, y'all are rolling in. Listen, we worked to get to where we are. And when he saw that I was taking $30 and making it wasn't ground beef or a piece of chicken or whatever it was, and I was making meals for the entire week on $30, we have to have those kinds of conversations because life is not always going to be peaches and cream. And today we're talking about with the way this government is going, we're like, all right, if we need to roll, what we're going to do? We have to, the communication has to be such that you have to say, you can say, you know what, this is where we are. This is where we are. So people look today and go, oh my God, she drives this. And oh my God, her husband is so wonderful. They don't realize that we've been through some stuff. That's relationship. It's never, ever all that we try to portray it to be. So we have to be honest with ourselves about what that looks like. I feel you, Janine. I do. I think your thing is so fresh. You entered it. Your stuff is so fresh that it's, I can feel the energy. But what I did. Yeah.
Bumpers. When you set up all the pins, and
yes,
each of your pins is so perfect.
And I think my current husband knew because I've been married before. Oh, and I've been in a relationship with a white man that gave him back his T-shirt. That was another story, but we'll talk about it another time. When my husband, I think, intrinsically sensed that I was not someone to be pushed. And so for 5 years, twice a year, he would say, how are you doing? What are you up to? I know you ran for school board. I know you won. I know you're getting these awards. I'm going to come and show up. We were just friends. And everybody would say, who this man that keeps showing up? And I keep saying, he's just my friend. So he understood that my heart was hurt without my having to say it. And he understood that he had to approach me in a gentle way. I swear, when I tell him I'm going to divorce him today, he says, ain't nobody else going to take you but me. I know you. He tells me all that without even blinking. I knows you. So we're going to be all right.
Protection, safety, security, stability.
All of it.
Yeah.
All of it. Remember, all of it came, and this is the thing about the bowling. So if you imagine relationships like a bowling alley, and all of the lists that you just put up are the pins at the end of the thing. We keep putting all this emphasis on the pins, but the story is about there was no bubble on either side of those lanes. There were no bumpers when he went to bowl. And so we put the bumpers up saying, I can't have this and that and the other. And really the bumper doesn't teach us anything. It just teaches us that we can't bowl because we keep hitting the bumpers and that's what hit the pin. We need somebody who can bowl and hit the pins. And
Yep.
you have to be able to hit the pins when you bowl. And so
Hmm.
if you're not ready to go out there and lose the safety and security in order to gain
Yes.
it, you gotta take all the guardrails off of the safety and security to discover that someone is safe and secure. So if you
Yes.
come to the
Yes.
table with you gotta have this, that, and the other, right? My list was so easy, it was simple. It was the bonds of marriage. That was
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Because all of the rest of it was negotiable in life.
Yes.
It was such a clear understanding of love, honor, and sickness and in health.
Yes.
Right. Even I left in obey because I
Yes.
understand that the story says that he will worship. Right. So if you obey your spouse is to worship you as the church was worshipped. Right. That was the
Mhm.
relationship. It wasn't obey with nothing. So I left obey in.
Hmm.
Right. Because I felt like I could obey a person who worshiped me,
Yeah.
right? And so so simple because I took all of the stuff that was fearful out of the
Right.
negotiation path of it can't be. Relationship is 100% about my fearful, wounded self comes to an empty table, and together we figure it out. And we figured out with very minimal things like the contract says, if you're rich when I meet you, you're poor tomorrow, I can't leave.
Hmm.
If you're healthy when I meet you and sick tomorrow, I can't
Hmm.
leave. Right? It does allow us, right? It does allow us for reasons of fidelity, for reasons of abuse, like
Hmm.
to move. So those are things which are non-negotiable on a list. But this there you have to come with a suitcase that is not full of clothing in order to pack it as a relationship together. And
Yeah.
if you
And
if you
I understand the wanting to protect your heart.
of course,
I do. I get it. I've seen some frogs in my life. We need to have these conversations more often. I promise you. Because people see and say, oh my God, she has a great marriage. Da, 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 da. Yes, I do. But they were the frogs too. And the frogs were not pretty. And the frogs were like, oh my God, you make way more money than I do. And I just need you to fix my car and to make sure that I have what I need. But the frog had no ambition.
come on, Mayor, remember.
Romance
And so,
scammers.
right. So you're right, trying to figure out how to come at you. So, because they see something they want out of you. But when you see that, don't even go past 2 months. Just go, I'm going to put you back in the boiling water, bro. Go on and hop around
Put
till
you
you
back
find
in the
somebody
brown
else that you
paper
want.
bag with the season and the flour.
Yes,
Told you
ma'am.
about the
Yes,
problem.
ma'am. And no harm, no foul. Just say, it is what it is. I'm just going to move on and do what I need to do. Right. And then heal from that because then you will carry that into the next thing. You know what I mean? So you get to our ages, you're not, you've had some hurt. You've had some trauma. You've had some shiggity and you going, why black Jesus? That's how I ended up with a white man. I gave him right back, put him back in the bag, and I was like, go on. So and not that relationships with other um cultures don't matter because my very first boyfriend was half Chinese, half black. Right, I grew up in a country where there were all sorts of out of many one people, so I didn't have an issue with that. But there is something about the smell of a black man.
Uh-oh.
There's something about the comfort of a black man. There's something about the swag of a black man that my little body was like, come on, girl, we're gonna go back over here to the right and we're gonna figure it out. So love is what it is. But if we have our own things that we deal with that we want for ourselves, nobody should be able to tell us otherwise. I'm just telling you, heal. Work further on healing so that when you can remove some of the bumpers and that you'll be willing to fly, to take a leap without any guardrails around you with the right person. That makes sense? Makes sense. Oneida, come on, girl, because we're not ending at 7:30 today. Oh, we going in. I hope we're gonna have a little bit of time. And let me
So
get a
mine
little bit.
is a little different. My non-negotiables are respect, someone who's willing to do the work, having a spiritual relationship, a relationship with children, with their children or family, communication, work ethic, and culture. And it's not a definitive meaning like it's strong. So I say this because to know me is to know I'm kind of like a wild card. So backstory. Last week I had 2 weeks ago I had my daughter's sweet 16. I'm originally from New York. I come from a cultured family, actually an Afro Latino family. And so me growing up in New York, it's big family. I have one child. We live down South Jersey. My daughter has never been in a household with more than 4 people for more than 2 weeks at a time. My family came and they just left this past Saturday. um, and so for me, I just got used to it. I come in, spend some time, I'm retreating to my bedroom. Whereas my daughter threw herself across the bed and said, Mom, I can't take it. I just want to come home and sit on the sofa and play with my dog. So cultured meaning to kind of understand that, not meaning like you dibble and dabble in everything that I do. Family, I love my family, but they get on my nerve. I'm not asking to sit down at Thanksgiving dinner for 4 hours at a time because I'll probably dismiss myself. So there's different things like when I say that, it's just having the entity there. The things that are non-negotiable is, a lack of respect or just being so hurt that you're not open to new things. I've done the work and I'm continuing to do the work. So I have to have someone who is at that place. I don't want perfect. I tell it to people all the time. I don't want perfect, but I need you to do the work. I have a great work ethic, whether it's for my paycheck or for my life. It's work. And so I need someone that's going to do the work. I identify with my deficiencies and because I have them. I like a big house. I don't like doing yard work. I need someone who can counter that, who understands that. But I'm like a super single person. I am embracing my singlehood. I love going out on dates. I love walking in a room, meeting people, getting a number, having a conversation or two. And if it doesn't work, good. Have a good life, and I'll see you around. I'm okay with that. I don't look at everything as you're my mate. You're the person that I'm supposed to be with every day for the last days of my life. Although I'm looking forward to being married, it's not pressing like that. That's the goal. That's the goal all the time. Sometimes I'm just supposed to learn a lesson from a person or just have an experience.
So you're in a space where you are close to having someone to spend the rest of your life with because you're not pressed. You are not looking. You are okay with being who you are, where you are. That person is right there. They're there. They're there.
I believe it. I'm currently so when I say dating, meaning I can go out and if I get a telephone number, I'll have a conversation with you. But there's someone who I do spend the majority who gets the best of me, if I can say that correctly, that I trust. Their healing. I still heal from certain things. Like I can tell you, I had a trigger like for my birthday. I'm very big on celebrations. I believe in celebrating people. And this person is absolutely different. So we met almost a year ago and we've been seeing each other. And I'm not big on titles. So don't call me your girlfriend. He's someone I'm seeing. And this is my first birthday with this person. And so he had my list. He's great at lists. You give him a list. He has the financial backings to buy everything, that I like on my list. But I felt like from Christmas on, I just felt like he was just like kind of throwing gifts at me. There was no rhyme or reason to it. Like for me, everything is personalized. Like
I'll take
I'm
it.
buying gifts for him or the children. It's personalized.
The man heard what you said and is trying to figure out to give you what you need. The man, Jesus Christ.
I hate to check myself. So the first person on the back end, I checked myself, right?
Thank you.
He came out. It was almost like a Shonda Rhimes show. Like I was like, you're not intentional. And I don't know why I told that black man, that Southern black man, that he was not intentional. The way he read me from the top of my head to the sole of my foot, I was like, you ain't had to do that. I was intentional from the moment I met you. When I asked you for your number, when I did this, I was like, oh, you remember all that stuff? Because I didn't remember half of this stuff. So, like it's, this is the thrill of it all for me.
But that is
I tell you, I'm in a different place.
That is so sexy when someone can remember every detail.
So I do. I like it.
So that's why the brothers feel like they damn if they do and damn if they don't. That's the problem.
Right. And that's what he said to me. He said, do you really know what you want? But I needed to be checked. Like, and I can say to my girlfriend, who is like, she was there the day we met. I actually gave him my telephone number because of her. And the way he met me, looking hindsight, my girlfriend was like, that was sexy as hell. And for me, I was like annoyed. Like, did you just touch my phone? Like, he picked up my phone to put his telephone number, and then I was like, did you touch my phone? That's
Girl,
the New
heal
York.
thyself. Come
I
on now.
know, I know. That's the New York in me. Because I was like, sir, that's my phone.
I would
But
love to have a conversation with men because you see what we're talking about now. They're like, okay, we're trying to figure out how to give you what you want, what you ask for. We're trying to be the mate, but we are. Let's be clear, we are emotional creatures, right? And depending on what's going on in the moment, the poor man is probably trying to do the right thing. We're like, I didn't ask you to do that way. I didn't want it that way. But please don't, Lord Jesus, David. What can we do?
Well, so the thing is, I think that there is a truth about men, which is that men see a portrait complete, and women see a blank canvas to create, and that is a conversation in rooms of psychology about how people approach relationships. So men say, "I bought the perfect painting, and I'm trying to put it on the wall in the perfect place and treat it like a piece of art." And women say, "Can't I just build a mountain and put a sun and recreate that ocean so that it will be perfect for the room I'd like to stick the painting into?" And that kind of conversation is always a constructive one, i.e., you say to him, "But I just want to fix the beautiful painting that I'm helping you create by all these things." And he says, "Damn it, I bought the painting and I put it on the wall. What's the problem? I bought the painting, I put it on the wall, you asked me for the painting," right? And so this is the conversation we keep having. What I will say is that, ladies, the thing that you have created over eons of generations is the idea of perfected painting, right? We do it when you get up and you put on your lipstick and your eyelashes, you go outside dressed up with your hair done. Here came the perfect painting that I bought and put on the wall. And all of a sudden, the painting wants corrections and edits and this, that, and the other. And so I think we have to understand that from a man's understanding, the black mark on the painting is the problem because I bought the painting as I wanted it. I didn't come to buy something that needed to be edited. I bought it ready. I hear the ice cream man. Somebody got ice cream coming. I want
Yes,
ice
sir.
cream.
no, that's my alarm that's in my bedroom.
Oh,
So
I love it. I said, where is it?
You make the ice cream
Lord,
sound.
Lord.
it was my alarm. It's the 7:30 alarm.
You like me? You have like 6 different alarms
I
that you have
do.
to
I
set.
have
I do
eight.
the
I have
same.
8 alarms that go
Oh, that's
off from
funny.
5 a.m. till 8 o'clock. Yes.
Yeah, and you know, I'm the same. The alarm that goes off is actually Irish bagpipes because I find it the only sound that is
Let
intolerable
me go
and
get my
tolerable at
alarm.
once, right? Like, but so from the male perspective of this kind of thing, there is this understanding of, I bought the perfected painting that I love. I looked at you, I saw you, I wanted you. Now I'm working to secure you, to put you on my wall so that I can stand
Yes,
back and gaze at you. And that is
yes,
a very different way of thinking. In my own experience about what it is that I look for, what I don't look for, it was interesting as a man to listen to you guys pour out your lists of wounds. Here
yeah,
are my hurts, here are my triggers, here is my pain, here is my hurt, here is my trigger, here is my pain. Most of the list was about, here's how I was damaged, please don't hurt me again.
yeah.
And what men are looking for is, what do I bring to this table to make this life beautiful
For
for
you.
both of us?
Mm-hmm.
For both of us, right? So
Mm-hmm.
when I'm writing lists, one man to another, right? The list includes things like security. I want to know that I feel safe. I want to know that when I open my mouth a little bit too wide, you're able to clap back. Not just with me, but those around. I know that I feel protected, that I feel like that I can't walk on a carpet before me, right? I
Mm-hmm.
want to know that you're comfortable in the spaces that I was born in,
Mm-hmm.
and that it doesn't intimidate. It's not going to cause a struggle in your mind and intimidation. I want to know that you are ride or die. And if I get hit by a bus and become a hideous glove of mess, that you're going to roll
That
me
you will be
around
there with
in
me.
that wheelchair
Absolutely.
and say,
And
"That's
vice
mine."
versa.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
vice versa. Yeah.
That's the place we come from. I didn't create a long list of things that were negotiable because everything is negotiable to me
Yes.
except for
Including life
fidelity.
itself, my husband would say. He said,
That's it.
everything in life is negotiable, including life
Even
itself.
God negotiates, right? So no,
Mm-hmm.
no, I won't deal with infidelity, and I won't deal with habitual lying.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you lie, I want to know why you did it. Right?
Yeah.
Was there a reason? Did you lie because you thought I was going to eat you alive? I may have, but I want you to let me eat you first, right? and I won't deal with abuse, right?
Yes.
And that is a constant
Right.
repetitive
Right.
nature of something.
Yeah.
Outside of that, there is nothing that I won't deal
Yeah.
with in the confines of a person that I feel secure with.
Mm.
So it's really about people. 'Cause I find people, and Andre, I know you're this way too. I find people are intimidated to come into my space because they have dreamed about something over here that they think it is before they get there. And sometimes my life matches this dream, and sometimes it doesn't, and that is scary. And so
Mhm.
I find I'm always telling people to relax. I'm
Mm-hmm.
telling people not to show out so much and just
Mm-hmm.
kind of to chill. So looking for people who are secure in that way.
Mm-hmm.
That sometimes that's financially, sometimes that's mentally, sometimes that's emotionally, whatever that is, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm specifically not telling the universe what it is that I must have because it doesn't allow the universe to do its job.
Right. Right.
And it's a lesson. Can I just say this as well? At least for me, I've learned in my dating life that there are lessons with the things that we say that
Everything that happens to us is a
there's a
lesson,
lesson.
Oneida.
Mhm.
Everything is a lesson.
So
If we
yeah.
choose to see them as lessons,
Hmm.
what am I supposed to learn from this?
Exactly.
Right? Because everything that we get into is never accidental. We walked into these relationships thinking one thing, believing that we saw one thing when the what am I saying? When the signs were there.
Hmm.
The signs were there. And every time you go back and you look, you go, oh, the signs were there, but I ignored it for whatever the reason. I wanted this to be what I wanted it to be. And
Hmm.
so we ignore it to our peril. So when these relationships end, it's not what they did so much, but what do I need to learn from what I went through so that I never go through that, at least not in this way ever again. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Right? And there is no David and I talk all the time, and I I said to David the other day, I said this marriage is not going to work because I could see there is a selfishness, right? We see things, when you're constantly selfish and only want what you want, and you think that that person must give it to you because after all you're so fabulous. That's a problem. You got to see yourself outside of yourself. The other day,
Mm-hmm.
I was sitting in the living room with my husband, and I'm just a fun. My husband looked at me and said, "You done? Either you go somewhere else and go sit down and get yourself together, or so like he's a man's man. Like I'm not, and he doesn't raise his voice at me, but it's like either you figure out something, but we're not gonna continue having this conversation this way with you fussing. You, I'm telling you, I'm like I go, okay, all right, I'm just gonna sit over here and mind my damn business because I know I'm wrong. You understand what I'm saying? It's not, oh my God, you're not listening to me. You telling me I'm blah 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 blah. You have to be willing to listen and to hear what is being said to you because we're not always right too,
And to
right?
have someone who challenges. I mean, I love that because one of the sexiest moments I can ever remember in a
And
relationship
it is
was,
sexy.
I attend like 32, 34 balls a season, right? And so there is a litany and a list of check out. We're going to go to this tonight or that, whatever. The other, whatever. This is coming up. It's white ties, black ties, white ties, whatever. It's on a plane. And my partner at the time said to me, took my list and crossed out this and went through down and crossed out that. I said, excuse me, what are you doing? Oh, we're not attending this. No, we are to be attending this. I already paid for that. We're not attending this. I have decided that this is my time with you,
Yes.
that this
Yes.
down here is where we're going to go away to visit family. And
Mm-hmm.
that I've already booked this vacation. So you're just going to have to make that a donation because this is my time.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, oh, see there.
Yeah.
Someone who said, this is how I'm protecting your energy, your emotional stuff, because otherwise
Mm-hmm.
I would be tired of this and that. Someone
Mm-hmm.
who said, no, 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 this is my space. And
Yeah.
so I think that being pliable pliable, being pliable in a way
and and
that
and you need
allows
to
them to do
create
that.
space for them to be them too. This is not just about us. It's not
Hmm.
always just about us and what we want. We need to create spaces for them to feel like they too can have that conversation. And I'm sharing all of this with you with, 10 years in marriage, 15 years in a relationship with this man. It is never always peaches and cream.
Mm-mm.
Right? I've called my friend Denise and like, I'm gonna kill him. He about to die. And she's like, what did he
I
do
get it.
today? And when they find out what he did, they're like, Andrea, you're being dramatic. So you have to be able to take the bitter with the sweet, right? When he almost died last year, oh, I was tearing heaven and hell wide open to make sure that my husband stayed alive. There has to be, it's just, am I making sense? Like this
Mm-hmm.
relationship that we're seeking, this relationship that we want, that will be comforting, and the space that we've always craved, still comes with a lot of challenges. It still comes with decisions that you, one or both of you, may make that may just not work in the moment. Is it a deal breaker? Should it be a deal breaker? Because if you sit through and you work it through, then it will work itself out. Now, I've seen people sit into things that I would have never done. So you have to know what your deal breaker is, right? I've been married, not this is not my first marriage. Okay. And I'm real good at giving back t-shirts. This one I'm gonna hold on to because I really, really like him because we work together and our hearts mesh. But there's still going to be things that will make you go, why? Why am I going through this? Right? So
And
if we're
not the
honest
first
with
time.
ourselves, this is what life is. This is our lives. We just have to decide which part are we willing to deal with versus the part that we're not.
And some of it
And I
is
think
the person who
also,
doesn't give up on
with
you.
everything being said, you have to be willing to spend time with yourself.
Mm.
Because when you spend time with yourself, you get to know yourself. And if you love yourself unconditionally, you will receive that. You're going to find someone to match your energy.
Yes.
I remember when I went through my situation, and then I went through a divorce. I asked myself, Judy, what would you do differently? And you know what I said? Nothing. And the reason why I said nothing is because I went through all of the phases of a marriage, till death do us part, to through sickness and health. I went through all of this phases. And when it came to till death do us part, death do us part was that the marriage died. And I still
Mm,
was a part of it.
that
So
is
so it's,
good.
yeah. And so I know how to love because I know how to love myself. And so I know I'm not ready to date yet. So I mean, but I want to at least have an idea of what I don't want. Because sometimes you don't know what you want, but you know what you don't want.
Don't want. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
And so for me right now, it's about spending quality time with myself, because I gave half of my life
To
to
someone else.
somebody else.
Hmm.
So
Yeah. Janine, any last
I
words,
feel
man?
you on that. I feel you on that, Judith. I mean, I gave 110% in my previous marriage. And there were some things that I did not receive in return. So I leveraged that as a life lesson, and I love the analogy you used, because we automatically think death do us part means a physical death.
Hmm.
It does not have to mean that. It just means that that particular marriage
right,
died,
correct.
and now I can just use that as a life lesson,
Hmm.
and use that to propel myself into what I don't want and what I hope to attract in a future relationship, without bringing all the baggage. Healing is an evolutionary process. No one is completely fully healed.
Right.
We heal each other by evolving in relationships with each other. Like Andrea mentioned, when she went through the car repossession, when she's, $30 in groceries or whatever the case may be, you don't know how a person is going to react until you are placed in those particular
Absolutely.
life
Exactly.
situations.
Mm-hmm.
And
I
so that's
always
when the
used to,
growth happens.
and I always, just to add to that, I always used to tell other women, because a lot of women, when you're married, they want to be married too. And then I would always say to them, I said, um learn how to be with your man when he broke, because he got a lot of money now. Learn how to be with him when he broke. You want to know if he loved kids? Go to the playground and have a
I see
date.
him. Yeah. Mhm.
Just little things about that. And then what are his core values? And more importantly, when my marriage ended, I took accountability for the part that I played. It wasn't
Mm.
just him, because it takes two people to be in a relationship and to be in a marriage. So I take accountability for the part that I play, because like Andrea said, you already see the signs. And
Yeah.
if for real, if I'm being truthful, the marriage died a long time ago, but because of my
Yes.
Christianity, I stayed in the marriage because I
Mm.
want to make sure that I did everything that I could have possibly done to make it work. And then, more importantly, forgiveness. Forgiveness is for you, it's not for the other person. And then I put myself in some of the same situations that maybe were fractured. And I said, you know what? If I was, if that were me, I would want somebody to give me a chance.
Yeah.
So I did everything,
Thank you.
everything that I could possibly do. And guess what? God is the one that brought us together, and God is the one that broke us apart. When you say, God, can you give me a sign? God gave me the signs,
Mm-hmm.
but you ignore the signs.
Yeah.
Until he completely removes the person from your life. You're
Yes.
like, you didn't listen.
Well, but
But
see, here's
it's
the
not
thing:
a
when you
complete
have
He
removal,
did that
though.
for
children,
me.
when you have
That's my
children, they're
son.
not. When you have children, they're not
Not
completely
completely. I was
removed.
just gonna say
They're
that.
always going to be a part of your life, and I have nothing but love for
Mhm.
the father of my child. I have nothing but love for you. I can't, you're the father of my child, our
Mhm.
child.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And that's another thing. I love you, but I'm not in love
In
with
love
you.
with you.
Mhm.
And going
Hmm.
the second time around, I want both.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
my experience was so different than the two of you ladies, and I do appreciate, your stories. But I can honestly say I love the fact that is it Judith? I can't see. It's
Yeah,
Judith.
Judith.
That you said that about the children, and so I do have a child. And I did explain on the first meeting about it was trauma. It was trauma. I had postpartum depression. Years after postpartum depression, I literally hated this man. But I can tell you, 2 weeks ago, I sat at my daughter's sweet 16, which was a formal sweet 16, as he was there with his new wife, who I had to speak to. Like, I mean, you're a part of my daughter's life now. And I pray for you. I pray for you because I pray that everything in him is healed so that you don't have to go through with
Go through
me
what I went through.
has
Hmm.
ever gone through. That was growth for me.
Hmm.
But I also I was broken. When I tell you, I think David, I said it to you before. I was totally broken. I was devastated, but I had to build back up and I had to do the work. So I think that's why my outlook is a little different because I remember being on that floor by
Hmm.
myself, not because there was no one there. I mean, my mother would have easily, if she could have came into my body to give me strength, she could have. And I remember saying to her, I have to go through this.
Hmm.
Whatever this is, I have to go through this. Not that I deserved it, but it was here. And I had a child that was the manifestation out of it, and praying. This is when my spirituality came into practice because I said, God, may she be the best of both of us. Because I'm not perfect either. My issues aren't his issues, but we had a child, and if I did not break or confront those things, they were going to manifest in her.
Yeah.
I can
Hmm.
promise you they were going to manifest because once my daughter had a season when she was about 8, where she would like lie about little things, and I said, we are not doing that.
Hmm.
Totally, we turned my house upside down. And we
Hmm.
don't have issues with those kind of things now,
Hmm.
at 16. You would never know it. However, but you have to do the work, and it's ugly, because you have to confront things that you didn't think, were an issue, what you saw growing up. I thought I had a good childhood. I was raised by bonus parents and my parents. Looking back, I wouldn't imagine my life without it, but I had to confront those things that were silent that manifested to a loud voice at some point.
Hmm.
Um, it's work. it's a work on us. And so I think my view is I don't look for perfect because I know the work. I know how quick it can switch on with anyone.
Oneida, you said something that struck me. When we have children with somebody that we're no longer with, we have to remember that DNA flows through the children through too. And so you have to literally look to make sure that your children aren't manifesting some of those things
Absolutely.
as they age, because you're thinking, oh, well, I'm raising them, they're going to be different. DNA is DNA. And
Right.
when you have children with someone, whether you like their behinds or not,
Mhm.
they're going to be a part of your life until you draw your last breath. Whether you want to,
Your
because the child is
last
that
breath.
someone's going to say, I want to go see daddy. I want to go do the. I had to go through all of that. And I had to put my big girl drawers on and go,
We
okay,
do. We
right?
do.
And deal with whatever the things were that were coming through all of that. Just this Memorial Day, my ex-husband walked in the door to our son's house with his current wife, and we just all sitting there laughing and talking and having a good old time and blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
It is you have there is a level of growth that is required, because you
Mhm.
always have to think of the children, right? Children know we're not together anymore. They get it, they understand it, but they're like, you're still my parents. And so to have the sweet 16, but when I tell you that's growth, girl, growth,
Listen,
growth.
beyond growth. When I tell you the history behind it, not a dime but was there like a proud parent. And guess what? It didn't
And you want
even
to slap the
take
taste out of their
people
mouth,
were
but you're like,
looking at me.
how you doing?
Listen, my girlfriend said to him, he didn't even know we had an open bar. He went up to the bar with his wife with his credit card out, and my girlfriend said, oh, you can put that away, except if you want to give some of it to Onita. Like, I mean, but that was real, I mean, but I've also lost friends behind that. When I had to teach my daughter how to, she was 15 and a half at the time, and her dad said some things to her that bothered her. And my daughter came to me crying. I said, baby, you need to get on that phone. You need to talk to your father. And when I finally shared that with a girlfriend circle, one of my girlfriends said, why would you do that? You know, he's a narcissist. You're allowing your daughter to be abused. And the way I cussed her out from the top of her head to the soles of her feet, I said, let me tell you what I'll never do. I'll never take away the fact that that man is her father. But what I will teach my daughter how to do is to use her voice. She can
Yes.
talk to her father without being disrespectful, because
Yeah.
every day of her life and his, he's
Yeah.
her father. You don't
Mhm.
tell me that. Now, maybe you like to say, I'm going to just
Mhm.
shut him out. At 48, I know you cannot do that. But I don't talk to this girl no more because of that. Like,
Yeah.
you will find yourself when you're by yourself, because no one is aligned with your thought process, with
Mhm.
how you feel. Like, it can be a rewarding place, and it can be a lonely place. But it's a
Yeah.
place that you have to grow.
There were so many lessons that came out of this, and I applaud you for asking your child to use your voice. I did it with my sons too, and my youngest son called dad and said, dad had said something about me that wasn't flattering,
Mhm.
and he stood up and said, you don't get to do that. You might not
Right.
believe what you think you're seeing, but she's done all of that and that much more. You don't get to talk to my mother that way. I talk about my mother that way. He comes home and he tells me, and I said to him, thank you for sharing that with me. I'm grateful that you used your voice. He was only like 14 at the time. I said, now I need you to go back and have a conversation with your father about, this, and this. And I remember I was dating Mr. at the time, and I cried like my son never saw I cried. I said, why would he say these things?
Mhm.
And years later, that same man came back and said, you are the best mother ever. I just could not thank you. But, when they're going through their own traumas, when they're feeling like blah, 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 they will say and do things that they may not mean in the moment, but it's hurtful. You have to literally be, okay. And I wasn't calling him to cuss him out. Was not doing that, right? Because I'm not lowering myself to his space. But to hear him now, and his ex-wife called me the other day and was like, he never had a bad thing. So why did you say that to my son? You understand what I'm saying? And I think it was in part because my son kept saying, mommy did this and mommy did that and mommy did this and mommy did that. But you understand what I'm saying? So there was this feeling of inadequacy. So your mother ain't all that. Your mother isn't everything you think. Why would you say that to a child?
Yeah.
Listen, and they
So you
say
have to
some
learn how.
mean and evil things. They do that will hurt you, that will break you. That, I mean, in a moment, it can break you in a moment. I mean, for me, my snapback is quick, but it broke me. Like, I mean, there were things that he has said, things that he has done, And because a part of me was like, what did I do to deserve this?
You
Why?
didn't.
And then I
That
said,
was the part.
it's not
You
me.
didn't do anything. It
I didn't do
wasn't
it
you.
right, but
Was
I
he?
had
Was
to
he? Was
realize
he?
it.
Was he paying child support consistently?
Oh, so he's always been on child support, but he's always underpaid. So when we went back for a last year, because I moved to Jersey, now that he's paying triple of what he paid, because I've only taken him to court twice, triple than what he paid when she was 1 year old. He told the judge, one, he was still sleeping with me, and then he told the judge that he wasn't paying my mortgage. And the judge, I said, let me tell you something. That man has not touched me since I was 8 months pregnant, and he'll never touch me. And then when we got out of the courtroom, we're in the elevator, and he said, it's a war. I had to play the part. I said, you're going to lose your life playing with me. But he, even then, I mean, because he knew for me, everything's integrity. So how could you do that to me?
David's face.
It's crazy.
David's face is like, I think therapists hear so much.
Mm-hmm.
We're so damaged by so many things, traumas that we experience in childhood, traumas that we experience as young adults, traumas that you don't get to 40 and 50 and not experience some things. And the part that is so hard is when we don't take the time to heal, and it just becomes a cyclical thing with us, right? But don't tell the man he gonna lose his life playing with you. Don't do that.
Not on the
But
air.
I meant it. But I meant
say,
it.
say it private.
But I meant it. Some way or another, it was going to don't play with me. Don't play with me, sir.
Let God do what God does. He don't need your help,
Sometimes
ma'am.
God need a little
I
help.
wasn't
Sometimes
asking for
God be a
no
little
help. I'm
slow
just saying
now.
you're going to lose because God don't play about me. So
You
something
need to
bad.
tie your camel and trust.
That's all I know. That's all I can tell you what I know.
Oh my God. This
But
is
it took
great.
a
I
long
love
time to
you.
get here. Like I literally can laugh about these things now, but I promise you there were days when I was on my floor, curled up in a fetal position,
Yeah.
asking God, why
Yep.
me?
Yep.
Why? What did
Yep.
I do? Like
Understood.
it's crazy.
You know I
But I'm
know.
Yeah.
grateful. I'm
You know I
grateful.
know.
I am so grateful. And honestly, I also saw my parents. Let me say this. I come from a blended family. My parents broke up when I was less than a year old. My mom moved to a new apartment, and my father moved around the corner from her. He said he was not going to be away from his children, right? But it really wasn't about us. My parents were friends till my father took his last breath.
Wow.
My father never so my parents were never married, but my dad, I was raised with my stepmother, who's Jamaican and Chinese, by the way, Miss Claire. She passed away last year. Always came from a blended family, her and my godparents, but I never saw my parents fight. I never saw my father disrespect my mother, and I never saw my mother disrespect my father. I saw my mom carry the weight. I went to private school my whole life, graduated from Syracuse University. My dad front and center. But I knew financially that money came all from my mom, right? But she
Yeah.
never disrespected that man. And when my father died, he died on a Saturday. That Wednesday was the last time he talked to me and my brother. But the morning before, he was on the phone with my mom. And every day, my mother says, "I miss my best friend." And they went through some things. Not that I heard from my mother's mouth or my father's mouth. I heard from other people, and I was like, ask my mom, like, "Mom, this happened with you and Daddy?" Or I say, "Daddy," and my dad would say, "That's between me and your mother. It's none of your business."
Yeah.
But that woman never, ever, 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 to this day, she never talked bad about my dad. And so I had to learn how to tap into that space. Ma, how did you do it? How
Yeah.
and so those were important things that made me who I am as well as a parent. And I thanked my mom at my daughter's sweet 16 and
Yeah.
told her that I got here 16 years because of you, because I didn't see you act crazy. Like I do be one that act crazy sometimes. But
Yeah, and
I
there's something to be said about that level of je ne sais quoi, where you feel like you're going through the stuff, but you don't push it onto the children. The
Yes.
children don't know. The children didn't hear. To your point, and I think it was a different generation, honestly, Oneida, because I didn't know half the crap that my parents went through. Even until after my mama took her last breath, I was like, we called her daddy and took him home. We were like, wait, what now?
Exactly. You be like, what the hell?
Listen, that poor man didn't know what to do with himself. And so the relationships they ebb and they flow, and they take work, and they take pull, and they take tug, and they take sitting still. That's the part that I want you all to hear from these conversations that we're having. And we're going to have more. Next week, I'm going to talk to someone who's widowed and what she went through in her marriage, right? When the spouse dies, Lord, not by her hands, Oneida.
I'm not killing nobody because jail don't look good on me. I like roaming 3 floors in my house. This is beautiful class. Don't look good on this girl.
I
Oh
love you all. I want to thank all four of you for having this transparent conversation, because oftentimes people live in their own silos and don't and think they're the only ones going through, or they don't see themselves outside of themselves. I appreciate each and every one of you. David and I talk all the time, but Janine, Judith, and Oneida, this was transparency. You allowed yourselves to be seen in a way that could have been frightening to a whole lot of other people. And so for that, I thank you, right? It is really, really eye opening for so many people to listen to these kinds of conversations and know they're not doing this by themselves. And so maybe we'll come back to visit this. Maybe we'll have an in person thing, talk about this. We
Yes.
don't know. Yeah, I'm really excited. I'm working a few things out in my head as we speak, right? Because I've had so many conversations with young people who were like, Mova, I need my mister. And we had a meeting, and the three of them now are married to their mister. They're like, thank God. Like, we have to
We
be able
need to
to
have a meeting.
honestly say,
Can
huh?
I say something?
We
Can
need
you
to
What
have
did
a
he
bring
say?
meeting.
What did he
can
say?
you bring young
We need to
adults
meet in
in?
person.
And I
Wait,
say
wait,
this
wait,
for
wait,
all of
wait,
them.
wait. Stop for a second. Jimmy, what did you say? And
I said we need to have a meeting. We need to meet in person. Okay.
what did you say, David?
We need a meeting.
And I said, can we bring some young adults in? On Monday, I sat with my 26-year-old niece and my 21-year-old niece who's graduating from college, and the aunties had some pure, unadulterated conversations with them, because as young women and men, I don't talk to young women, but young women, they need to hear this, because they are fighting battles that are
Yeah,
triple what we're going through, believe it
yeah.
or not.
Oh, I
It's a
believe it.
different kind of
I
war
believe it.
out here on them. So I talk to my nieces wholeheartedly. They get the
Yeah,
rawness of it all.
yeah,
So
yeah,
we
yeah.
have to. We owe that.
Yeah.
That's the village
All
that
right.
we.
So let's figure out the time to meet in person, because I think there's so many more conversations we could have about this. But I thank you. Thank you all so
Yes.
much.
Thank
All
you.
right. Don't
Thank
hang
you
up
for
yet.
the
Just hold on.
platform,
Huh?
Andrea. Thank
I
you
What?
for
was
the
just going to say
platform.
thank you.
Oh, you're so
Wow.
welcome.
Thank you
This was a
for
safe
the
space. I wanted to
yeah.
curate a safe space for all of you to be a part of this. I do not take it lightly that you were willing to open your hearts and yourselves to have the dialogue so that others can see themselves and hear themselves in the middle of all the things that are going on. And I so appreciate it. So we're gonna have that in-person meeting, okay? Because there are plenty of misters out there and misses and all the other things that we're looking for. It just requires us to open our hearts and be transparent in a way that allows other people to see us, um, and to not accept bullshit
That's right.
when it is bullshit.
And take yourself off mute.
Yeah, that's right. Use your voice.
Use your voice.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Don't
This
be
episode of Mornings with Mother is officially over. I am Andrea Lawful Sanders. I'll see you when I see you. Bye, everybody. Bye bye, darlings. Bye.
Bye.